or you want like to fully customize the UI. Okay, so for that we have this APIs, UI object info and UI record info. Okay, so first we will look at what is UI object info. Okay, so the object info API, as the name suggests, it gives us information about an object, a custom object or a standard object. Okay. So it contains everything about that object, the layouts, the record types, fields, and the permissions. And so other things are there, so many other things are there. So let's look at what is record info or object info. So let me go to, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import simple object info for contact. Okay. I guess it was already there. Okay, so let's I'm going to stringify this so we can see the data in detail. So let's see what we get inside this. So I have already added this component to contacts layout. So here I'm going to deploy this. Let's remove all this code so you don't get confused. And obviously we need to display it on the page. Okay, so with this, we get just the API name. So what do we need to get API, the detail about this object is we need to call this UI object info API. I hope I remember the syntax. UI. and we need to wire this. Here, I need to pass the object API name, which we have here. And let's here we store this. And I need track here because this is object. Okay, and I need to import the track. So if it was a primitive data type, then I don't need to add track. But as it is object, so I'm going to add here equal to data. Basically JSON dot stringify and okay. We need to add this dot. We need to display that as well. Okay, so this hell lot of information we get using this. So if you need to know what is this information all about, so this API actually based on the standard SOAP API for object, and here you can find all the information about that. So it contains this information. Okay, so like record types, then if the object is updatable by the user, if it is searchable by the user, or if it is creatable by the user, like all the permissions for that particular object. So if you need to know dynamically, like for any user, if we can create this object or not, so based on that, if you need to show some information or you need to hide some information, so for that purpose, we get this object, get these particular data. And if you want to take a look at that, so we can just go to the JSON and we can take a look at that. Did not copy it well. So here we have object API name, then child relationship. If you can see, the creatable is true because I have access to create the contact records. Then if it is a custom object, then it is false. So if you have record types, or even if you don't have record types, we have this default record type ID. This record type ID is needed for some other APIs, like to get the pick list fields from an object's field. Okay, so If you don't have any record types, then this is the global record type, you can say, for Salesforce object. Even if that particular object don't have record types, you can use this object and you can pass this to get pick list value. And here we have dependent fields is feed enabled, chatter feed, and here we have everything about each of the fields. So like if the field, what is the field's API name, then what is if it is a compound field, or if it is a formula field, or if it is a custom field, what is the data type of that field. So based on this particular information, you can generate your UI, or you can do your logic. So basically, you can say it contains all metadata about an object. Okay, so if you remember, I guess in our previous classes, so we actually, okay, we can use, okay, so the next API is so how do we get a fields data? Okay, if I need to get a fields API name, okay, so how we can do this? So if we can notice that how I'm importing this object API name, like Salesforce @Salesforce schema, then object name. So if you have any custom object, you can add _c or whatever the API name of that particular object. And let's say I want to fetch API details for the first name field on the contact. So what I can do is contact.firstname, and here I'll do like call it first name, and let's just display it. Okay, so we will get an API name of that particular field. Oops. We need to display it somewhere. So I'm going to remove all of this code so we can see just the field name. Let's go to a page and refresh. Okay, so here we have field API name and object API name. So if you remember, we use this method called get field name, get field value, I guess. We use it somewhere. Okay, we'll see that later in this particular session. So the next thing is, so I hope it is clear like how you can get information about a particular object and a particular field. So the next thing is the get record method. Okay, so as the name suggests, we are going to use the get record method to get a record of a particular object using wired get record method. Okay, so for that, what I need is I need the fields. Okay, wire. So I need to import that. So let's say I want to fetch first name and last name using get record. And I need to, okay. So here I have defined API record ID, which means that the container component can pass record ID to this particular component. And we are using this component on the record page. Okay, so the record ID of that particular record will be automatically passed to this component. So we need to add here wired get record. Always remember, so if you have some methods or some other properties, this particular name always have to be unique. Otherwise, you will run into an error. So sometimes you can do like, let's say wired record, or you can say contact, and you can also do like contact. But this is not allowed. You need to have unique name for wired methods and the properties. So wired get, and here we need to import get record as well. Import get record from Lightning UI record API. Okay, so okay. Isn't my Visual Studio Code visible? Oh, sorry for that. Oops. I didn't realize that. So let me share it once again. Is it visible now? Okay, sorry for that. So let me go through it quickly once again. So we have this. So I'm going to cover the get object info API once again. Okay, so the get object info. This particular API is part of UI object info API, and we get all information about. I hope you guys are able to see my screen. Okay, so let's say you are creating some UI dynamically based on the objects info, and you need all information about the access for that particular object. You need to get information about all the fields available on that object. So for that, we use a get object info API, and we need to pass the object API name to that particular API. So if you can see here, we are importing import get object info Lightning from Lightning/UI object info API. Okay, so what this info contains, so how we call it, get object info. So we need to call it using wire. Okay, get object info, and then we need to pass object API name. And how we get object API name, we import object using import the object name. You can give any custom name here from Salesforce schema, Salesforce@Salesforce/schema/account. So if we do this, and if you look at the data written by this object info API, this will look like this. So we have all information about an object. So we have API name. So actually I used it to get information about contact, and fortunately we still have that response stored on this page. So you can see here all the child relationship. If that particular object have any child relationship, then if the object is creatable by user, and this will change for every user. If a particular user does not have access to create that record, this will be false. If it is a custom object, what is the default record type ID? If it is a deletable field by that particular user. And you also get record type infos, like for if you have multiple record types, you get record type details about all of the record types. Then if the object is searchable, and what is a theme info, like what is a color and icon URL of that particular object. So if you want to show those things on UI, so you can use this icon URL and color. So so this color and the icon URL. So all this information is written by this API. So if you look at the fields, so we have list of fields, all the fields, standard and custom fields, and we have these details like what is the API name, if it is a calculated field, or if it is a compound field, or if it is a creatable. So like we can get details of field level security for each of the fields, and we can get the help text, we can get the label, length, basically everything about a field and object. Okay, so let's go back to the get record. So here I have imported get record from Lightning UI record API. So what get record does, it fetch the record based on the fields or the layout that we have mentioned. First we'll see how we can get. So if you remember in the record form demo, we used mode here. So we use mode, like if it is a compact, we use the layout type, if it is a compact layout or if it is a full layout, or we also use the list of fields. Okay, so all those components use these APIs internally. Like if we are getting a record inside the record edit form, record view form in view mode, then it is actually accessing a record using get record method. Okay, so here I have imported the get record method from Lightning UI record API. Then I have imported the field first name. So the syntax is like @Salesforce schema contact.firstname, and I also have imported the last name field, and I have used a wire @wire get record. This is the function, and here I'm passing the record ID. So notice the syntax, like I have passed $record ID. So we called it provision. Why provision? Because every time this record value changes or any parameter that we pass to wire record changes, the wire calls automatically itself. Okay, so here we just need to mention these field names as an array. So we are passing two field names here, and let's see. Let's define one variable contact info. Okay, and I'm going to do this dot contact info is equal to JSON dot stringify data. And here we can handle error in case. display this information here.
Rahul, we cannot hear you. You are on mute, I think.
Okay, so here we have got this information, contact info. So we have got API name of that particular object. Then we have got some system fields like last modified by ID, last modified date, and all those things. And here we have fields. So how we can access this data? So if we go back and let's say I want to get, okay, so here is the culprit. That's why I was wondering why we are not getting last name. Okay, so now let's say I want to display the first name. Get first name, and we can. So here we are going to use another method from UI record API called get field value. And so we are going to use return this get field value. We need to do this dot. We need to check if there is a data inside this object contact info. Okay, and we are not going to stringify it anymore. So get field value, and what we pass here, we pass this dot contact info, comma, the field name. Okay, and same we will do for the last name. Here we will change the field name, last name. So we will erase this. Display is equal to name, and clone this last name, last name. Let me recheck the API name if we have grafted, right? Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, this is deployed. So this is how we use get record API. Now, let's see how we can use the other info. So like instead of mentioning the field names, what if I do mention the layout? Okay. And I'll say this full, and we are not going to mention the, and again we are going to stringify the data. Okay, so it's the layout types. Okay, so what we get here now is all of the fields that are added on the layout. So whatever fields we have on this layout, you will get those fields. Let's click on that. If you can see, we have all of these fields and its values. Okay. You can see all of the fields. So this data you can format using your custom UI, or you can use the recorded form also. Let's see what we get from the compact layout. It's an output of the get record method using the compact layout. I'll show you how to extract that fields data from that. So if you notice here, we have the fields, and on every field we have this API called value and the display and the label of field. Okay, so let's move ahead to the next API, which is create record. So I'm going to import the create record method. Here I'm going to add first name and last name of the contact. So I'm going to create two variables here, and I'm going to assign those to two input fields. Change so we can get the fields value. Okay. Change here. Event, then this from event dot target dot main is equal to event dot target dot value. So what basically I'm doing here, I'm dynamically assigning these fields value, so I can reuse this single function. And how I know which field I'm assigning value to is based on this, the target's name. It means the HTML element's name. So if you notice that it is exactly similar to the API name of my variable. And let's add a button. Call this create record, and Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello. Okay. I guess that was problem at your end this time. So we need to pass the record input, and how do we configure this record? So we can do this like fields is equal to record input is equal to first name, last name, dot first name, dot last name. Have no, first name. Yes. Now here we are using promise. So if this is successful, then or if it is fail, deploy this. Simply Actually, we are passing a record into here. This data com. Okay, let's do it on here. Let's see whatever we have got here. Okay, so we need to import pass. Actually, with the record input, we need to pass the object API name, and which we can get from the from this import statement from the schema. Okay, and actually we can also pass the hard-coded API name, but we are going to do it like this: contact dot object API name is equal to contact dot field API name, and these fields actually we are going to pass as a fields, which is so something here, is a comma here, and then if we create a record, we will see the result of create record. Okay. So now if I create a contact, error on parameter record input, come on, record input, object API name, we are passing it right now. Oops. So now API name is object API name, contact.field API name. I think it's API name. Okay. So okay, finally we got the syntax right, and we have created an object using the create record API, and you can mention all of the fields that you need, and also you can add validation rules and all those things. Also you can add toast message, so whenever the record creation is successful, and all of these things. So the next um, so next we have the get field display value. So the display value is similar to the get field value that we saw for before. So the get field value returns the actual field value of that particular field, and the display value actually get the display value. So what is the difference between field value and display value is, so the user, if you see the owner or last modified by user, so actually the fields value is the API name, API, so ID of that particular user, but the display value is name of that particular user. Okay, so that is the difference between display value and field value. And also for mobile numbers and phone numbers, we can have different format based on the local or country. So the display value can change based on the user's preferences. So that's why we have this different APIs called display value and field value. Then get record we saw, then get record create defaults. So what is this? So if we have configured default field values on a particular object, let's say if you want to have something of for some field, if you want to have default value, then we set those on the field level on the field setting here. So for these values, so whenever you are creating record using uh, using Lightning Web Component, so if you need to leverage the default values, then we use this function called, where is that, get record create defaults. So whatever the default values we have for that particular objects, all the available fields will be automatically filled in inside the uh, inside the record, and that record you can use to add more fields, and then you can pass that record to create record. Okay, so if you are doing some customization, so like if you have an already existing record, so you call get record, or you can call the get the record create defaults. So the get record you can call will result into data only when you have an existing record, but the get record create defaults will return you a sample data which you can pass to this particular create record API method, so that you have pre-filled data. And also you can, let's say it returns you these two fields. So you can add more fields like salutation, and you can pass values to all those fields. Then get record notify change. Okay, so not all the time you are going to use the UI record methods. Sometimes you can use Apex. So if you have some complex calculation, or based on that, if you have getting data, or you are getting some related data to that particular record using Apex. Let's say for accounts, you are getting all the contact details, and those contact details need to update whenever there is any update on um the account. So we can use this get record notify change, so that other components on the page get to know that this record is changed, so that the get record method for that particular record gets called automatically. Let's say you have these two components here, and on this component you have a certain set of fields, and on this component you have a different set of fields. So if this component updates the data using Apex, assume, and we need, so whenever you do that using Apex, other components will not know that data has changed until the cache expires. So to notify all other components, we use this method called get record notify change. So whenever we make a change to data, we notify it, so that all other components on the page will get notified of the changes. And then we have update record. So update record is very similar to the create record, and we have additional parameter for that, which is client options. Okay, and it talks about the, so like it's to check any conflicts before you update the record. So like if you so like via service return last modified date, I don't know what it is. Okay, so yeah, so that's it about the UI record APIs. And also you can delete the records. There is a method for deleting a record. So basically you can perform all the CRUD operation using UI record APIs, and yeah, you can fully customize your UI. So in certain cases you need to know, like you don't need to use the standard UI, and you want to create all the custom UI with some different stylings, and on these scenarios these methods are very helpful. So we are running out of time, but the last topic I want to cover here is when to use what. So like we have Apex, then we have record forms, and then we have UI record API. So you might get confused between record forms and UI record API and Apex. So the thumb rule for this is you always start. So if you have any requirement and you want to decide, okay, what do I need to use? So first thing, can we do that using the record form? So whatever our use cases, can we do that using record form with little bit of customization? Then you can definitely go with the record form. Or you cannot do that with the record form. You can go with the record edit form and view form, like or a combination of both. And going further, if that that does not satisfy your requirement, or that does not give you flexibility to do things, then you use the UI record API. And personally, I have used this UI record API very less. So like I just use the get record method to get the data, and the advantage of that is it automatically recalls itself whenever the data is changed. And the last option is Apex. So sometimes the error handling is not that not that flexible with the record APIs. So, and also you cannot perform mass operation if you want to create like hundreds of records, or let's say tens of records. So in that case, you cannot use record API. So you need to use Apex. So that is how you can decide between which technology or which API to use whenever there is a use case. So yeah, that's it for the today's session. And from the next session, we are going to resume our project that we are building, and we are going to do some bit more coding on that. And yeah, I guess there are no questions. So thank you for your time, and sorry for the can we call UI API from connected callback? Yes, we can call it from connected callback. So let's say you want to get wait. You need to call. So the get record you can call with the. You cannot call with the connected callback. So you need to use. So you can call it only with wire adapter. And the create records you can definitely call with the connected callback, but I don't think of any scenario, like any particular scenario for that. But the get record you can call it only using the API, using the wired adapter, because it uses Lightning Data Service. And so if you need to get a record inside the connected callback, then in that case you need to use Apex. Are there any more questions? Okay, I guess that's it. So thank you for your time. We will see you next time.
Yes. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.